Alright guys, I have been tagged by Herohunter81 for a top 50 comic books tag video. And man, me talking about 50 books in one video, I really had to think twice about it because it could be hours, if not days, the way I ramble when I get going and stuff. And I got up here and I dug some things because I can't sleep. I won't be hurting tomorrow because Hero Hunter 81 has had a death in the family of his grandmother. So before I get into the comic books real quick that we're talking about stuff, if you guys can indulge me, I'd like to talk to Hero Hunter 81. Shooting these videos and stuff, it's real easy to kind of forget that even though you're just showing a comic book or a wall or you're showing off your comic book room and stuff, these are people that take time to invite you into their house, okay? And we call ourselves a community. So every now and then, I don't want to get heavy, but sometimes you just feel for the people, and when they talk about things, you really wish you could, I don't know, maybe comfort them, talk to them, or something like that. And so I've watched a lot of his videos. I watched a lot of everybody's videos, but after 5 years of watching tons of videos, you just don't comment as much as you should. Uh, but he started made me he kind of made me think about my grandmother. She died 15 years ago, and so I feel for you. I really do feel for you. And I was really close to my grandmother. So much you got me thinking, and so much of what I have become, not out in the world of who I am, came from her. Okay, uh, I talk about reading comics when I was like about 4 or 5. Well, she's the one that taught me to read. I can actually remember sitting down on a couch in her house and we're playing Scrabble, and I started out with 2 letter words, and I remember moving up to 3 letter words. I remember it clicking in my head. Because that's the thing with my grandmother. A lot of people think of grandmothers like, toys and cooking and pinching the cheeks and grandma will get it for me and all that stuff. And what she gave me was time. The most precious thing that you can give anybody is time. She taught me these things without even realizing she was teaching it to me. She's always trying to teach me something, but just being around her, I was very close to her in the family, and out of everybody in the family, very close to her, and for years and stuff. And she, uh, you know, I could feel love from her. You know, somebody can make me an egg, but it's not like the eggs she made. She made seafoam candy. She made stuff around Christmas. She taught me how to. You don't have to go out and buy things. You don't have to go out and be materialistic. And we did the whole thing with the string on the popcorn on the string, and decorating for Halloween with the lollipops and the tissue paper and stuff. And yeah, these were all crafts and things we were doing, but it was the time that she gave me. My love of music comes from her, because when everybody was listening to disco and staying alive and all that stuff, I'm sitting there dancing with my grandmother in the living room. She's teaching me 60s, 50s, and 60s dances and stuff while we're listening to Hey Sloopy by the McCoys, Wild Thing, and that garage rock with the piano going and stuff, the good stuff. And thank God she spared me from Elvis. I like Elvis and stuff, but it was the real music and stuff. And my love of music grew from there. That's probably why I'm so nostalgic about things and stuff. It probably does come from her. Reading the comic books and some of the books and stuff I did, it came because she taught me how to read. And so, sitting here thinking about my mom, my grandmother, and all that stuff like that, it really got me thinking. And I feel for you, man. I really do. And if you can indulge me also with saying anything without getting too personal. I know we never talked or anything, but it's one of the things that I don't believe in coincidence in life, because it seems like when someone passes out of our life, there seems to be always something that comes into our life. You said your wife was expecting, and I believe in stuff like that. And For an example, because in my life, it's not quite the same as yours, but when I was my grandfather that I'm named after, died when I was 6 weeks old, and my mother was very young when she had me and stuff, and he was very sick of cancer, I believe, from what I remember and stuff, and he was just miserable. He was very sick. And then when I was born, they brought me out to him, and he got to hold me while he was in a wheelchair. He was in the hospital the same time that I was being born, and been there for a while. And so he's sitting there and he's holding me and stuff, and he's just been miserable and sick forever. And he was the same age that I am now. And then all of a sudden, it was the first time he had laughed in months because I pissed in his face. You know. So I mean, my heart goes out to you. My heart goes out to you. I don't know if I put that eloquently, and I don't. I hope I didn't. I just hope. I just hope there's something there that you feel me, man. Okay. But years later, one of the things about my grandmother and stuff is that I'd be in the back of the car when my mom was driving around to go shopping and stuff, and my grandmother liked a little little snoot here and there, and she'd get a beer in her and stuff, and get a little ooh, I loved it. It drove her kids crazy, but I was just like, oh, here we go, And we were at Walden Books at the Mercer Mall in Princeton, West Virginia, about 50 minutes from where we lived and stuff. And I looked up there, man, and there was this book I wanted. I was just like, oh my God, I just turned 16 and stuff. She was like, well, do you want the book? I'll get you the book. My mom's sitting there like, no, you're not buying him anything. So later that night, I ended up spending the night at her house and stuff. And she sits there and she's like, come on in here. Came in here, and I went into the room with her and stuff. And she got me the book. She had stuck it in, she paid for it, stuck it in her purse, hid it from my mom, and gave it to me, man. And it was the leather-bound, complete Frank Miller Batman. And I finally got to read the Dark Knight Returns, 4 years after it had come out, So yeah, if there's ever a fire, after all the things that she taught me, that all this is fleeting. I mean, all this stuff right here. If there was a fire today, there's probably two things I would grab, and it's this, okay? So this is from my grandmother and stuff like that. And I talk to her every now and then. Like there's times that I'll be like, I'll pick up something like this. I'll see some of the pictures that I have of her and stuff, and I'll talk to her. The second thing I probably would save from a fire, come in here and stuff, because I keep them together on the bookshelf, is something that my friends have got me, and it was on my birthday. I think it was 2010 or something like that. I was moving 3 hours away from my hometown to go be closer to my son. And my friends, Matt, Brennan, Jay, and about 15 other people and stuff, we all went and watched Watchmen, the midnight showing. And then when I went into the store to say goodbye to everybody, they all worked in the same place and stuff. Went in, they'd all got me this, and I've told this before, man, but the Absolute Watchmen edition, And I love Watchmen. People know I love Watchmen and everything like that. But it's the fact that these guys got together, put their money together, and gave me this to tell me that was going to be all right out there, So yeah, that's the second thing. So there's two. Okay. The third book I'm going to show, some of this stuff I've already talked about. It'll get better as we go on. But was The Goon, Chinatown. Okay, there's pages in this. I talked about this in some other video and stuff, but it was really strange because this came out a few years after my divorce, and man, it really put some things in. It really helped. I mean, it was really cathartic. I mean, it's not really about divorce, but it's about and I wasn't really heartbroken with my divorce, if that makes any sense. It was sad that it was over, and this really, Goon gets his heart broken in it and stuff, and there's something cathartic there, some kind of honesty in it, this more the spirit of it. And there's this project I'm doing that it's probably never going to see the light of day with anybody but me. But I've got this thing where, I need to do one comic. Okay, I need to do one comic. And a couple months ago, I kind of put it out there that I was going to do it and everything. And went back one night and I was rereading stuff. I mean, I had some sketches put out there. This is probably about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And I got rid of everything that was there, okay? Because what happened was I started rereading American Splendor, okay? American Splendor, at least check out the movie or this. This is some of the best, autobiographical stuff and honesty and philosophy in life and seeing things that are around you and stuff. It goes from the mundane of things just happening in standing in line at the grocery store and getting mad, to where he's really honest. Like, he got the big head because his ego really blew up and figured that he'd been single for a long time, and by God, somebody should want to go out with me because I'm a published writer. I have, he did jazz. He wrote into. It's really late here. He would write reviews of jazz and the history of jazz and the collecting of records on top of putting out an American Splendor book. He's a published writer, and then he would check himself. He knew he was flawed, and he was honest enough to put this in his stories and things. It's a very interesting writing. There's no doubt in my mind that he has structured a few things and probably exaggerated a little bit to have a story. But that's the job of a writer, to tell the story and have a message. So I mean, this is just fantastic. And the most favorite thing he ever done, because I did it as a kid, is when he looked his name up in the phone book, and that's in the movie. Okay, again, I won't get too much into these. This is one of my favorite stories ever, Hero Number 11, by Will Pfeiffer. It's simply the dial lands on a nomadic tribe of cavemen as they're traveling across a glacier or something, and he hits the buttons just right, and he turns into Super Caveman. And the end of this, man, just had me sniffing. Just little, got a little misty. Somebody was cutting onions. I love this book, Secret Wars number 10. I still say that Secret Wars, we were all fooled. This was the story of Dr. Doom. And this is the issue where basically Jim Shooter is telling the story of Dr. Doom fighting God. It's heavy stuff. This is just a nice little book. I have two of them. This is Excalibur number 14. This is during the cross-time caper where the Excalibur was crossing the multiverse, and they land on this Marvel universe. This was kind of told, I think, for a little bit more of a comedic effect. To lighten the mood of the story. It never really got dark, but this is kind of like a breather where everything's just kind of silly. Like, the Hulk isn't big and bad. He's more like a baby. He's got the mind of a baby. They make fun of all of Wolverine's different looks, and New York. It's just ridiculous. I mean, it's just a really good story. I might do a whole review on that eventually. Again, I did a video on this one. X-Men 183, man, even with all the cosmic stuff, all the hatred towards the X-Men and Magneto and Death of the Phoenix and everything like that. Pretty much they come back from Secret Wars, and Colossus breaks Kitty Pryde's heart, because he thought he was in love with an alien on Battleworld during Secret Wars. So Logan, takes him out to a bar to kick his ass and ends up setting him up with the Juggernaut, and it's just a big old bar brawl. Love that issue. My first comic I ever bought with my money, and it turns out it's a Whitman variant, but I remember getting this off the stand, Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes, number, I think it's like I'll tell you the number, 1979, number 255, okay? And then, not to get morbid, but when my grandfather died in 1983, I kind of stepped outside of the funeral home. I was 10 years old. I went across the street and ended up buying this. I've told the story before and stuff. But the owner of Helen's and Nancy's, Helen, she saw where I was coming from and had a little milkshake with me and got a little comfort, and I got to get some of these books and stuff. And this is just fantastic. That's a jam cover by a lot of artists. Walt Simonson, Howard Chaykin, Jim Aparo, George Perez, Dave Cockrum, Gil Kane. I can just go through there and figure them out. And it's a bunch of short stories that all tie together. It's just fantastic. It's a celebration. Okay, something I would read as a kid when this came out because it was just amazing in my eyes. This was the second time that Superman and Spider-Man met, but I think this paid off more than the first one. Is this Marvel Treasure, DC and Marvel presents Superman and Spider-Man with Dr. Doom and Parasite as the main bad guys. It also has Superman fighting the Hulk. It has Wonder Woman. Who does she fight? It has Superman versus the Hulk, Wonder Woman versus Spider-Man. Doctor Doom is of course a badass in it, so this thing was fantastic. I carried the other one that my stepdad had for years, where the thing just disintegrated. There's nothing to save. Before I get to the good stuff, other things that I think are fantastic stories. Cerebus 112 and 113, he put both issues into one comic, and basically Jaka is gone, and we got a guy that's just sitting here just all moping and just feeling horrible through this, and there's almost no words in this, and it's just a fantastic drawn issue with no words, until the very end. And it's mesmerizing when I read it. Okay. Two of my favorite issues of Animal Man by Grant Morrison. Number 5, Animal Man was supposed to have been a 4-issue limited series with the American debut of Grant Morrison. DC said keep going. So before he got the main plot going, he did this standalone issue that was actually foreshadowing how his arc was going to end. But as you can see, he's got him in a Jesus Christ pose. You see the artist drawing him and inking him and everything like that. Great Brian Boland cover. But what happens is Wile E. Coyote comes into the real world, and we see the torture of cartoon physics in the real world of what's going on, and how he comes to realize, I think if I remember right, that he's a cartoon. Well, later on, at the end of it, number 26, Buddy Baker has taken peyote, broke the fourth wall, saw us reading him, and has horrible things happen to his family, and he meets Grant Morrison, and Grant Morrison has a little talk with him. Fantastic issue, number 26. Just one more on Grant Morrison. During his Doom Patrol run, he had this, they used to do story arcs, and before they would go on to another story arc, you would have a standalone issue that was like a breather for the reader. Okay, and this is a little funny tale, unintentionally funny. I mean, there's some sense of humor in there and stuff, of Monsieur Mala and the Brain from Doom Patrol. What happens is that the chief has to work on Robot Man's body, so he takes his brain out and he just keeps it in this jar of fluid. And Cliff says that's actually very cool. It's kind of like meditating. He kind of likes it, being sensory deprived for a little bit and stuff. It's very relaxing. Well, Monsieur Mala and the Brain come in, and all this stuff happens, and we end up getting a leak in the brain pan there, if you will. And somebody uses bubble gum to plug it up and stuff. And Monsieur Mala and the Brain, I think the Brain gets a hold of Cliff Steele's armor or something like that, his robot form. And these two finally confess their love for each other, and you have a robot and a French-speaking gorilla making out at the end of it. It's pretty funny. Okay, going back to the 80s and stuff, I was really happy to get this. I did not pay $9 for this. This is where I rebagged it. DC Comics presents Superman and the Masters of the Universe. These were my freaking toys when I was a kid. Those were it. That's their first appearance. And then, led me up to getting the miniseries, which is just fantastic. I mean, to me, this is He-Man. Love these. I got doubles of almost all of them, except for the third one. Yeah. Fantastic stuff, man. Alright, we're moving along pretty good. Now, also, it's probably of my era and the books I read as a kid, but one of my favorite little arcs of X-Men that Chris Claremont did, I mean, I actually think it's one of the last genius things he really did with the X-Men, because it was so, what's the word, contrary, maybe? What do you call it, where it seems like they don't match, but he stuck the X-Men in Asgard. I have the Alpha, it started out in the Alpha Flight X-Men 2-issue special by Chris Claremont and Paul Smith, but then you had this come out, New Mutants Special Edition, number 1, 1985, and this is just fantastic. This is Art Adams. Loki comes in, Enchantress is in it, Asgard, they get there, and then the story completes in X-Men Annual number 9, also about Art Adams, but it has a whole bunch of other inkers and stuff in it, man. Just two fantastic books. I love the story arc. It's a contradiction. That's the word. To me, it felt like a contradiction, And actually, a lot of the mutants fit in better on Asgard. They would have been happier there. Seeing Sunspot hang out with the Warriors 3 just made my freaking day, man. I was like, All right, and then we got you a little bit of this. I got this for a quarter. This is a first edition of Batman Harley Quinn, her first appearance, as I understand it, in the proper DC universe. You know, I got that for a quarter. That was kind of cool. Alex Ross, who did the cover, used his face to model the Joker on. You know, so he drew himself in there. And then I love the Bruce Timm cartoon universe, and Paul Dini and Bruce Timm came in and gave us Harley and Ivy 3-issue miniseries. And from what I understand, this is a pretty sought after book by fans. Fantastic, just fantastic stuff. This was my holy grail that I finally got. I show this off any excuse I get. The Gold Key Johnny Quest from, I think, 1964. It's just an adaptation of the first cartoon, Mystery of the Lizard Men, but it's the only comic book in the 60s that came out of Johnny Quest. It's fantastic. This is a hot book, which kind of blows my mind because I've got several more issues of this because I love the story. The Unity and pre-Unity era of Valiant is my favorite, and it's all I can really consider Valiant. And then they came out with Bloodshot, and then they came out with Ride Number Zero, and this is kind of like the bookend for me for that Jim Shooter era of Valiant. Ride Number Zero. This freaking lays out the history of the Valiant universe. You knew what was coming years to go. They had a blueprint for where the Valiant universe was going. I think I got like 4 of these and stuff. I've grabbed them for years. And the fact that this and Eternal Warrior #4 and stuff are hot books, I kind of feel vindicated, because I've kept the faith on those. I was really happy to get this because I was a huge Evel Knievel fan when I was a kid. This is some kind of supplementary Marvel comic that was free, but I think you had to get it at I think it was at toy shops or toy stores or something like that. You got it real thin. Marvel put it out, licensing. Something I was more or less satisfied to get. This is Marvel momentarily had the rights to Doc Savage for a while. So we had a Marvel 2-in-1 number 21 where Doc Savage and the Thing team up. I was really happy to find that when I found out it was out there. I got this in the early 2000s when I was married in Sevierville, Tennessee, which is right outside of Pigeon Forge. It's so close to Pigeon Forge, you think you're already in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and Gatlinburg and stuff. And the lady was kind of bragging on how her son had come down to Washington and cataloged all her books, and she knows exactly how much they're worth and stuff, and she wouldn't bend or budge or anything. And she was kind of bragging in a way where you're like, I didn't even ask you. Okay, that's nice. And she would repeat herself. Well, I got this for $2.50. So yeah, that was awesome. Inferior 5 #1. I love this. I got a killer deal at a yard sale a few years ago on this. I love Inferior 5. I like that. Swinging kind of humor they had for the 60s. It's got a checkerboard. That should tell you everything. Groovy. Got this for free. Guy watches my channel, Scotty Hines. I hope I got that right. It's really late. Gave me a whole bunch of comic book boxes, and this was in there. Spidey Super Stories #1, and apparently the first person to play Spider-Man on film is supposedly Morgan Freeman. It was Morgan Freeman playing Spidey, so that's pretty cool. Got some music, rock and roll books and stuff. I got the Marvel Premiere #50, Alice Cooper. And, Marvel's not full of me. They put that big #1 on there, which is supposed to be Alice's first appearance to make you think this was #1 of a series. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. Tom Sutton and Terry Austin. I got this Prince. How could I not? Got it. This was awesome. Piranha Press. It was pretty cool. Dennis, who did it? Dennis Cohen did the art and stuff. It was pretty good. And then, of course, I was a Guns N' Roses nut. I have met Slash and Axl. Axl called me or Justin Jinko a prick, and we argued about who he called a prick, and Slash just popped up on our faces and apologized for Axl being a prick. So basically, in the early 90s, on their Skin and Bones tour, apparently the word of the day was prick. Okay? Moving on, because this is running long. I love this. This is a Mark Evanier and Steve Rude Mr. Miracle special that came out. This is where I discovered Steve Rude for the first time, where I really noticed him. Loved his stuff. It was fantastic. My good friend, good friend, Lukewarm Water. Watch me going blank. It's 1 in the morning and I got to work in the morning. Went to Heroes Con last year or the year before. I've seen him 2 years in a row down there. And I popped up and he said, I want to give you something. He just got it. And it's Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man number 27. Frank Miller's first artwork, first time working with Daredevil. You know, I was very touched. You know, as a kid, you know, I discovered Captain Marvel in World's Finest and on a live action TV show on CBS. So getting this number 1 was really cool and finding it from the 70s. I've had this. This was mine. I got it from Gmart, and then when it came in, and this thing is pretty much perfect, I put it in a wizard bag that's got the edges to protect the book. This is the Amazing Spider-Man number 36, the 9/11 story by J. Michael Straczynski and John Romita Jr. Even Dr. Doom will cry. Spider-Man 149, the Spider-Man fights the clone with the jackal watching. Something I got in the early 90s, and it was like a dream come true for me, man. I got the first comic book appearance of Elric in Conan. This is number 14 and 15. Got these for a song. Got a song. The comic book shop that I worked at I think he was going out of business, and I snatched them right up. Got them for a song. Barry Windsor Smith. And I was really disappointed with the outfit because, you know, this is not what Elric wears. And it turns out somebody on Facebook, when I brought it up on a group that was talking about Elric, they found the paperback that Barry Windsor Smith based the look on. You know, got this for a song. I actually traded. This is the Fantastic Four number 44. Jack Kirby, of course. I actually got this by trading a Preacher Volume 2 Until the End of the World story that I got from a book club for 35 cents for this. I even told the guy, are you sure you want to do this? He went, they're not my comics. I didn't ask any questions. Okay, the end books, if you can get any of the end books, they are fantastic. Garth Ennis did the end. These are supposedly the last stories of these heroes. Garth Ennis and one of my favorites, man, Richard Corbin, came on there and did the last Punisher story, which is fantastic. Radiation is rotting his flesh off as he is going to make that last freaking kill. I mean, it's just freaking unbelievable. Peter David, Dale Keown, the Hulk. And Peter David said he got inspired by the, was it Proteus? The story of he who stole fire from the gods. He based it a lot on this. Dale Keown returned to the Hulk, you know, after doing the pit and stuff to do this one shot. Something I was glad I picked up because this is when Garth Ennis was really just getting started, and, you know, people kind of started knowing who he was and stuff. And all of a sudden he pops up at Marvel and he does this one, you know, alternate verse story of Punisher kills the Marvel Universe, which I loved it because how Garth Ennis killed a lot of these guys was how me and my friends used to sit on the bus, like how we could beat the Hulk and how you could do this. It's in here, you know. It was awesome. A story that just blew me away because, you know, I was a kid of the 70s and 80s, but when I was becoming a man, you know, in the 90s and stuff, you know, the Crow was hot. And I got these for, I think, $10 or something at a convention in Bristol for nothing. So, you know, it's the Crow. I'm trying to collect this one. This is the Tundra edition. I think this is number 2 of 3 or something like that. But what I loved about this is what was so funny is Mark Aller just, you know, kind of starting out, I guess. And he put out this book, Madman, and, you know, it was all, you know, kind of weird and snappy and kooky and stuff. And I flipped through it in a trade, and all of a sudden it had this substance, and I figured out why it won an award. I think it's this one. But Madman is sitting there in a field at night, and he's having a talk with God. I mean, God's not answering him back, but he is talking to God, and I was just like, that's deep. And then something I'm very proud to find that I was glad to find because I passed this up for 3 months on the spinner rack. I was like, I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to get it. I was hitting this phase where I'm like, I've got enough comics and everything like that. And I looked up a few years later and got it because the book took off, and when I went back to get it, it was gone. But it was the issue 92, first appearance of Impulse. You know, I got 2, 3 of those, and one of them signed by Mark Waid now. And then Steve Ogden sent this to me, man. Just out of nowhere, man. One of the, I guess the random act of kindness and stuff, man. But I was really touched that he got this to me because, I mean, he was at the Baltimore Con and he invited me up, and I'll just be honest, I didn't have the money to go. And I had a bald tire on my car. I mean, it was like that perfect storm. Where if it was a month later or a month earlier, I could have went. And all of a sudden, man, he sent me another package, man, and he sent in this Marvel Superhero Special number 18, the first appearance of Guardians of the Galaxy. So there you go. All right, man, I'm going to cut this short. It went 30 minutes. I guess that's all right. And all right, so who should I tag? I wanted to tag Short Box Full, formerly MA0001. I'm going to tag Tim Merritt, and I'm going to tag Scotty X1307 that are popping in my head. We just did well, except for Tim wasn't there, but me, Scotty, and Mark, Short Box Full, we just did a group viewing of Young Frankenstein, and we had a blast, but we kind of got caught into the movie a couple times because it's so funny. All right, guys, later on.